How does the tech that runs our world really work? We break it down to its fundamental truths. This is First Principles.
You're scrolling. It's late, or maybe it's early, or maybe it's that little pocket of time in the middle of the day where you pull out your phone for a brief escape. You're swiping through a social media feed, a river of images, videos, and thoughts from friends, family, and strangers. A video of a golden retriever wrestling with a garden hose makes you laugh. You pause on it for an extra second. Maybe you tap the heart icon. You keep scrolling. A few swipes later, there it is again. Another video of a different dog, this time a beagle, splashing in a puddle. You smile. A little further down, an ad pops up for a brand of supposedly indestructible dog toys. Later, you open a streaming service. You just finished a 7-season science fiction epic, and you're looking for something new. The front page greets you with a banner, because you watched Cosmic Wanderers, and it displays a list of shows. One of them, a gritty space western you've never heard of, catches your eye. The description is perfect. It's exactly what you were in the mood for, even though you didn't know it yourself. This experience is so common, so deeply woven into the fabric of modern life, that we barely notice it anymore. We live inside a personalized world, curated for us by invisible forces. Our entertainment, our news, our shopping, even our driving directions, seem to be guided by a silent, all-knowing intelligence. It feels like these systems know us. They anticipate our desires, predict our interests, and serve up a reality perfectly tailored to our tastes. We call this force the algorithm. We say it with a certain reverence, a hint of suspicion. The algorithm blessed me today, a friend might say, after a video they posted goes viral. Or, the algorithm is burying me, an artist might lament when their work doesn't get seen. We treat it like a conscious entity, a digital god alternately, bestowing favor or judgment. It's a black box. We feed our data into one end, our clicks, our likes, our searches, our viewing history, and out of the other end comes this perfectly curated world. The process that happens inside that box is a mystery to most of us. It feels complex, unknowable, maybe even a little magical. It feels like a form of artificial intelligence, a thinking machine that has studied us and learned to predict our every move. But have you ever stopped to wonder how it actually works? If we could pry open that black box, what would we really find inside? Is it a ghost in the machine, a thinking mind made of code? What if I told you that the secret behind that mind-reading social media feed, the very same secret that powers your GPS and your streaming recommendations, is based on a principle so simple, so ancient, and so profoundly human that you've been using it your entire life? What if the first principle of the digital universe isn't magic at all? What if it's just a recipe? In this episode, we are opening the black box. We're going to deconstruct the most powerful and misunderstood concept of our time, the algorithm. Before we dive into the code and the computers, I want you to forget everything you think you know about technology. Forget the glowing screens, the data centers, the satellites. I want you to instead imagine that you're standing in your kitchen. On the counter, you have a bag of flour, a carton of eggs, some sugar, butter, cocoa powder, and a bottle of milk. Your goal is to create a chocolate cake. Right now, these are just individual components. They are your inputs. They have the potential to become a cake, but they are not a cake. They are simply a collection of raw materials. Now, next to these ingredients, you have a piece of paper. It's a recipe card, perhaps passed down from a grandparent, with faded handwritten instructions. It says, Step 1. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Step 2. Grease and flour a 9-inch round pan. Step 3. In a large bowl, cream together the butter and sugar until light and fluffy. Step 4. Beat in the eggs one at a time. Step 5. In a separate bowl, whisk together the flour and cocoa powder. Step 6. Add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients in 3 parts, alternating with the milk. Step 7. Pour the batter into the prepared pan. Step 8. Bake for 30 to 35 minutes or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. This recipe is a perfect, real-world algorithm. That's it. That's the first principle. An algorithm is nothing more than a finite sequence of well-defined, step-by-step instructions for solving a problem or completing a task. It takes an input, follows a set of rules, and produces an output. The ingredients are the input. The instructions on the recipe card are the algorithm. The finished chocolate cake is the output. It's not magic. It's a procedure. Every detail of this analogy matters. The recipe's instructions are precise. It doesn't say, add some flour or bake until it looks done. It says, 1 cup of flour and bake for 30 to 35 minutes. Algorithms require unambiguous instructions. A computer can't interpret vagueness. The order of operations is also critical. You can't bake the batter before you've mixed the ingredients. You can't add the eggs before you've creamed the butter and sugar. The texture would be completely different. The sequence is everything. Follow the steps in the correct order, and you get a cake. Follow them out of order, and you get a mess. This is the fundamental truth of an algorithm. It is a process, a roadmap. The recipe itself has no intelligence. It doesn't know how to bake. It's just a set of instructions. You, the baker, or the computer, in our later examples, are the one executing the instructions. The power of the algorithm lies not in its own consciousness, but in its ability to guide a process to a predictable and desired outcome. It turns chaos, a pile of raw ingredients, into order, a delicious, structured cake. This concept is everywhere once you start looking for it. Think about the last time you assembled a piece of IKEA furniture. You open the box and out spills a confusing jumble of wooden panels, screws, dowels, and a little Allen key. It's chaos. But you also find a booklet of instructions. It's a diagram-based algorithm. Step 1. Take panel A and screw in the 4 camlock screws at the designated holes. Step 2. Insert 2 wooden dowels into the side of panel B. Step 3. Attach panel B to panel A. You are the processor, executing each step in sequence. The algorithm doesn't know what a bookshelf is. It's just a set of rules for combining inputs, the panels and screws, to create an output, a finished bookshelf. The instructions might even have conditional logic, a key feature of algorithms. It might say something like, if you are mounting this to drywall, use anchor C. If you are mounting to concrete, use anchor D. This is a simple if-then statement, a fundamental building block of all but the most basic algorithms. It's a decision point in the recipe. Even something you learned in elementary school, like long division, is a pure algorithm. Imagine the problem. 573 divided by 4. You probably don't know the answer off the top of your head, but you know the process, you know the recipe. Step 1. How many times does 4 go into 5? The answer is 1. Write the 1 above the 5. Step 2. Multiply that 1 by the divisor 4. You get 4. Write that below the 5. Step 3. Subtract 4 from 5. You get 1. Step 4. Bring down the next digit from the dividend, which is 7, placing it next to the 1 to make 17. And now the algorithm repeats. You're back at step 1, but with a new number. How many times does 4 go into 17? the answer is 4, and you follow the same sequence of steps, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, over and over again, until you have your final answer. The problem, 573 divided by 4, is the input. The final answer, 143 with a remainder of 1, is the output. The set of steps you memorized in school is the algorithm. You didn't have to understand the deep mathematical theory behind division to get the right answer. You just had to faithfully execute the steps. The algorithm is a tool for managing complexity. It takes a problem that seems hard and breaks it down into a series of steps that are so simple, so mechanical, that even a child can do them. And that, right there, is the entire reason algorithms are so important in the world of computers. Computers are, at their core, breathtakingly stupid. This might sound counterintuitive. We think of them as superintelligent brains. But they're not. A computer is like an infinitely obedient, infinitely fast, but completely unthinking kitchen assistant. It can't taste, it can't smell, it can't improvise. It can't look at a bowl of ingredients and figure out how to make a cake. But if you give it a perfectly precise, unambiguous recipe, it can execute the steps at a speed that is almost incomprehensible to the human mind. It can perform billions of simple operations, like adding two numbers or comparing them to see which is larger every single second. A computer doesn't understand what a name is or what alphabetical order means. But you can give it an algorithm for sorting. Let's imagine a simple, albeit inefficient, sorting algorithm. Let's say you have a list of 10 names. The algorithm might be, Step 1, look at the first 2 names on the list. Compare them. If they are in the correct alphabetical order, leave them. If they are not, swap them. Step 2, now look at the second and third names. Compare them and swap if necessary. Step 3, move to the third and fourth. Continue this process all the way to the end of the list. When you finish one pass, is the list sorted? Probably not. But we do know that the last name on the list is now guaranteed to be the correct one. So the algorithm continues. Step 4, repeat the entire process again from the beginning, and again and again. With each pass, more names bubble up into their correct positions. The algorithm's only instruction is to stop once it can complete a full pass without making a single swap. At that point, it knows the list is perfectly sorted. A human doing this would be slow, bored, and likely to make mistakes. A computer executing this simple compare and swap recipe can sort a list of millions of names in the blink of an eye. The computer isn't smart. The algorithm is, or rather, the algorithm is clever. It provides a reliable method for creating order out of chaos. The computer is just the muscle, the brute force executor of that clever recipe. Searching for a word in a document is the same principle. When you press Ctrl F, you're not asking the computer to read the document and find the word. You're activating an algorithm that, in its simplest form, says, Step 1, compare the search term to the first word of the document. Is it a match? If yes, highlight it. If no, move to the next word. Repeat this process until you have compared the search term to every single word in the document. It's a simple, mechanical, and brutally effective recipe. So, let's pause here. We've opened the box, and there's no ghost inside. There's no thinking machine. When we talk about an algorithm, we're not talking about a form of consciousness. We're talking about a recipe. We've established this as our first principle. Whether it's baking a cake, building a bookshelf, or doing long division, an algorithm is simply a set of step-by-step instructions. And we've learned that computers are machines designed to execute these recipes at unimaginable speeds. They are algorithmic engines. Now, with this fundamental truth in hand, let's go back to where we started. Let's go back to that uncanny, seemingly intelligent social media feed. How do we get from a simple recipe for sorting names to a system that feels like it can read our minds? The leap seems enormous. The complexity of curating a unique feed for 1 billion different people feels infinitely more complicated than sorting a list. And it is. But the principle is exactly the same. The difference is not in the what, but in the how big. The social media feed is not powered by a different kind of thing. It is powered by a recipe of such enormous scale and complexity that it creates the illusion of intelligence. Let's think about our cake recipe again. The inputs were simple. Flour, sugar, eggs. The output was a cake. For a social media algorithm, what are the inputs? The ingredients are you. Every action you take on the platform is an ingredient. The posts you like, the videos you watch, the people you follow, the comments you leave, the articles you click on, even the things you don't do are inputs. The posts you scroll past without stopping, that's an ingredient. The video you watched for only 3 seconds before swiping away, that's an ingredient. Your location data, your age, your listed interests, the friends in your network, the groups you join, all of these are ingredients being collected and dumped into a massive digital mixing bowl. Now what about the recipe itself? The instructions? It's obviously not a short, simple list like our cake recipe. It's a vast, sprawling, and constantly evolving set of rules. We don't know the exact recipe, it's a closely guarded corporate secret, but we can infer its basic logic. The instructions are a series of millions of if-then statements and weighting systems. For example, a very simplified part of the recipe might look like this. If a user frequently likes posts from their sister, then increase the priority score of all future posts from that sister. If a user watches a 3-minute video all the way to the end, then find other videos with similar tags, lengths, or from the same creator, and increase their priority score. If a post uses a trending sound or hashtag, then temporarily boost its priority score for a wider audience. If a post gets a lot of comments and shares within the first hour of being posted, then drastically increase its priority score and show it to a massive number of people. If a user consistently scrolls past posts about politics, then decrease the priority score of all political content for that user. Imagine millions of these rules, all working at once. Each rule assigns a tiny score, a weight, to every single piece of content that could possibly be shown to you. The algorithm is a giant sorting machine. Its one and only job is to solve a single problem. Of the thousands of posts it could show you right now, which one should it put at the very top of your feed, and then which one should come second and third? Its goal is to arrange that list in the order of what you are most likely to engage with. It calculates a relevant score for every post, personalized just for you, based on the giant recipe and your personal mountain of ingredients. The output, then, is your feed. It's the finished cake, baked specifically for your palate. The reason it feels like it's reading your mind is because it's operating on a perfect record of your past behavior. It doesn't know your thoughts, but it knows your actions. And our actions, our patterns of clicks and likes, are a surprisingly accurate proxy for our interests and desires. The algorithm isn't psychic, it's just an incredibly powerful pattern-matching machine. It saw that you paused for that extra second on the golden retriever video, and its recipe said, "Aha, a pause is an indicator of interest. Let's find more of that." It's not thinking, it's executing a rule, a simple, cold instruction. This same principle, input, processing, output, applies to the other magical technologies in our lives. Let's take GPS navigation. When you ask for directions from your home to the airport, you are providing the input, a starting point and an ending point. The magic is how it instantly calculates the fastest route, even accounting for real-time traffic. But again, it's not magic. It's a brilliant algorithm. The system has a map, which is essentially a massive dataset of interconnected points, intersections, and the paths between them, roads. Each path has a value assigned to it, which could be the distance or, more importantly, the current estimated travel time based on traffic data. The problem to be solved is, what is the shortest path from point A to point B? One of the most famous algorithms for solving this is called Dijkstra's algorithm. We don't need to get into the deep technical details, but conceptually it works like this. The algorithm starts at your location. It looks at all the possible roads you can take from there. It calculates how long it would take to get to the next intersection on each of those roads. It keeps expanding outward, like a ripple in a pond, always exploring the path that currently has the shortest total travel time from the start. It relentlessly charts out possibilities, discarding longer routes and always advancing along the most efficient frontier. It's a recipe for finding the shortest path. It's a set of steps that, when followed by a computer that can process millions of potential routes in a fraction of a second, gives you the optimal route to your destination. When traffic suddenly gets worse on the highway, that's a new ingredient. The algorithm takes this new input, reruns its recipe, and checks if a different path, maybe one using side streets, has now become faster. If it has, it produces a new output. A faster route is available. It's not thinking about traffic jams or your desire to get to the airport on time. It is mechanically executing a set of instructions for finding the lowest numerical value in a giant network of data points. And what about that streaming service that knew exactly what you wanted to watch? It's the same story. The inputs are your viewing history, the shows you've given a thumbs up to, the genres you frequent, and even the actors you seem to prefer. But here, another, more powerful set of ingredients is added: the behavior of millions of other users. This is the basis of a technique called collaborative filtering. The algorithm's recipe is based on a simple, very human idea. People who liked similar things in the past will probably like similar things in the future. The algorithm executes a massive matching process. It says, find other users who have a similar viewing history to this user. It identifies your taste neighbors, people who also loved Cosmic Wanderers, and maybe that other historical drama you watched last month. Then, the algorithm looks at what else those neighbors watched and loved that you haven't seen yet. It finds that a huge percentage of them also rated that gritty space western 5 stars. Based on this, the recipe instructs, the show gritty space western has a high probability of being liked by the current user. Increase its recommendation score. It doesn't understand plot or character development or cinematography. It understands one thing: data correlation. User A's data pattern overlaps significantly with users B, C, and D. Therefore, the outlier data points in B, C, and D's patterns are likely candidates for user A. The output is that personalized row on your home screen. Because you watched Cosmic Wanderers, it feels like a personal recommendation from a filmbuff friend, but it's the result of a dispassionate, mathematical recipe sorting through the behavior of millions. So the black box is open, and what we've found inside is, in a way, both simpler and more complex than we might have imagined. It's simpler because the first principle is so basic. It's all just recipes. Unthinkably large and complicated recipes, to be sure, but recipes nonetheless. There is no mind. There is no intelligence. There is no magic. There is only input, a set of instructions for processing that input, and an output. It's more complex because the scale of this operation is staggering. The number of ingredients being collected and the sheer volume of instructions in these algorithmic recipes are what produce those emergent effects that feel like intelligence. The illusion of magic is a product of speed and scale. If you had to follow a recipe with 1 billion steps, using 1 trillion ingredients, it would take you a lifetime. A computer can do it in a second. And when a process happens that fast, at that scale, our brains can no longer perceive the underlying mechanical steps. We can only see the final, seemingly miraculous result. We see the cake, not the creaming of the butter and sugar. We see the perfectly sorted feed, not the billions of tiny Ithan comparisons that produced it. We started this journey looking at a world that felt magical, a world run by invisible, intelligent forces that curate our reality. We talked about the algorithm as if it were a single monolithic entity, a digital wizard behind a curtain. But now we see that's not true. There is no single the algorithm. There are countless algorithms, millions of different recipes, all designed by humans to solve specific problems. The algorithm that sorts your social media feed is different from the one that navigates your car, which is different from the one that recommends your movies. They are all just tools. They are tools with a purpose, written by people and companies with specific goals. The goal of a navigation algorithm is to find the fastest route. The goal of a recommendation algorithm is to keep you watching, to increase your engagement with the platform. The goal of a social media feed algorithm is the same, to maximize the time you spend on the app, to show you content that you are most likely to interact with, because engagement is what drives their business. These algorithms are not neutral. A recipe is written to produce a specific kind of cake. A recommendation algorithm is written to produce a specific kind of user behavior. Understanding this first principle, that algorithms are just recipes, is empowering. It demystifies the world around us. It pulls back the curtain. When your feed shows you something uncanny, you no longer have to see it as magic or mind-reading. You can see it for what it is, the logical output of a recipe you have been feeding with your own data. It gives you a new lens through which to view your digital life, allowing you to see the structure beneath the surface, the rules that govern the flow of information. You begin to understand that you are not just a passive consumer of a magical experience. You are an active ingredient in a vast, automated, and continuous algorithmic process. The world isn't run by thinking machines. It's run by instructions. And realizing that all this complexity is built on a foundation as simple as a recipe for a cake doesn't make our modern world any less incredible. In fact, it might make it more so. It reveals that the true genius of our age lies not in creating artificial minds, but in crafting elegant step-by-step instructions that can tame unimaginable complexity, and in building machines that can execute those instructions at the speed of light. The digital world wasn't built on magic. It was built on a very good recipe.
You've been listening to First Principles. Until next time, stay curious.